See if we're
Right
live.
about now is
Hey everyone, it looks like we're live. We're just a moment while we take a quick look and make sure we're actually on.
This is a great thumbnail. It's me.
All right. Well, I'm sure you're here, but we're taking a quick look just to make sure.
Yeah, we're on.
See what everybody has to say. So today, Mike and Dave are doing the show, and I am looking to make sure that you're there. Yes, I see you. Yay. All right. It's a little different when we're on this, both in front of the screen. Hey there. Let's see. Wendy, Mardella, and a bunch of other people that I can't see. And let me see on the YouTube side. Ellen, Elizabeth, Becky, Laura, yay. Happy New Year, everyone. All right. Actually, I forgot. It's already New Year for our friends down under.
90% of the people who are watching this.
Hey there, everyone. So, so Dave and I are on the show today. And before we get started, I just wanted to let you know, first of all, we had 100,000 viewers last weekend.
Mm-hmm.
Or 100,000 subscribers.
Our Christmas present from you guys.
On the YouTube. So thank you, everyone, for doing that. And as Tara mentioned previously when she was here, we are going to, now that we've hit 100,000, we're going to do a giveaway later on in this show. Well, actually, later on, I'll tell you how to do it. And then we're actually going to draw it next show, which would be Wednesday. So for that giveaway, we're going to be giving away 10 Dining on a Dime cookbooks. The new one, right? Yeah.
And an apron.
And the fancy dancy new version, and an apron. So one of Jill's homemade aprons. And I'll tell you now, but we'll repeat it later. In order to enter that, when this show is over, YouTube crunches it for a few minutes and then posts it. And at that point, if you post something on there, tomorrow when we do the drawing, we will draw names from there. So yay.
Wait, tomorrow?
No, or Wednesday on the next show. And also, real quick, I just was going to mention, we have a New Year's sale going on right now that we just started. That's not the book.
What?
Oh, the book isn't the New Year's sale.
Oh, okay.
See, Tara, who's not supposed to be here, is telling me about the sale that she wasn't involved in. Just kidding. No. So anyway, I was just going to tell you, we have a New Year's sale going on. Dave will share a link for it. And
I will?
Yep, it's this one right here. Maybe Mike will share a link for it real quick. And then we're going to get to talking about the reason why most people can't save money and are in debt. So we will get to that in just a moment. Okay, just shared the link for the sale. Dave, keep up with that. He's the captain.
This one?
Yep, that one right there. All right, cool. Let's see what everybody has to say real quick before we get moving. Hi there from Oregon. Thank you. Almost icy mid-Michigan. Yeah, we just had a nasty storm come in today.
Oh, they're so cold. I'd ask Alexa, but...
Don't say that. She might start talking.
She dated right now. Actually, let me go and plug her so we don't...
All right.
Hang
Hmm.
on.
Okay, just check in. Looks like we're good. All right, so today I promised that I would share the secret of why most people have money problems.
Most.
And actually, we've shared other reasons before, but I think this is a very, very major reason. That's the reason for virtually everyone who has any kind of money problems. And as far as paying off debt, we have paid off quite a bit of debt in the past. Well, at one point when our income was $22,000, and we paid off $20,000 of debt while we were at that income level in 5 years. So we've paid off a lot of debt, and in those days it was hard to cut that to find that out. But the main reason I think, I have to keep you in suspense, is people spend money that they don't realize they're spending. And chances are you're probably one of those people. Now, I know not everybody out there is like this, but I suspect a lot of us are. And I'm not saying us just so that yeah. I'm not really doing that very much now. So, but when I say that we're spending money that we don't realize that we're spending, I think people don't realize how nickel and diming ourselves is a big a big cause of debt and not being able to save money. And I hate to steal Jill's thunder because I heard her say something about this in a video that's coming out in the future. But she was talking about somebody who was proud of the fact that he would go to Wendy's every day and buy things off of a dollar menu, but neglecting to notice that he bought a lot of other things throughout the day.
It adds up.
Yeah. So actually, Dave.
Well, even that $1 menu, it's still a lot.
Right. The $1 menu alone adds up.
Mm-hmm.
But what Jill had mentioned is that he later on throughout the day would be buying other things. And I think most people go through the day and they'll say, well, I'm going to spend $1 on this drink, and I'm going to spend $5 on this coffee, and I'm going to spend this much on this other thing. And that really adds up. And, oops, sorry, I'm sharing a link here. Hey, Dave, can you share the link to the one that says how it adds up?
Say it. Oh.
So, sorry, I'm having a moment. So, part of the reason why we spend too much is because we're just not paying attention. And throughout the day, people will spend just $1 here and $1 there, but by the end of the day, you spend a lot. And let's just say you go out normally on a work day and you stop in for fast food. Fast food, $7. Probably most people spend $7 or more. And I forgot to do the calculation. But if you do $7, I'm going to pull out the calculator here.
Oh, I can just type it in.
$7 times 5 days a week times, let's say 50 weeks a year, because we won't count you eating out.
$1,750.
$1,750 for a fairly modest fast food meal these days. And that's only that. That's just that alone. It doesn't count other things that people will spend money on. So, for instance, Ellie gave me a gift card for Starbucks recently, and I never go there, but I like their mochas okay. But I went in there and I was standing there, and I think it was $5 for the medium, or $4.50, something like that. And as I was standing there looking, thinking, wow, I really need to lose some weight here, I noticed that coffee had
1,700 calories.
I think it said 480 calories for that coffee. And as I was standing there waiting, and it was taking a really long time, I had plenty of time to digest this, and I realized, I know I have a gift card and it's free for me, but maybe I should put this off to some other occasion. So, anyway, this was inspired because on our grocery group, Heidi shared the post, Stop Eating Your Way into Debt. And Dave, can you share that?
Oh, yeah.
And in this post, Jill had talked about how people mostly eat all of their money away. And some of it is on things like nickel and dime stuff throughout the day, particularly if you're out and about away from home. And because I know I've done this from time to time, I try not to, and I mostly keep that under control, not as well as Tara. But if you go out and you buy a little something at a fast food place, and then you buy the coffee, and then you buy some other small snack and a little drink, it adds up a lot. So that $1,750 is just the fast food meal. That's not anything else. So one thing that I think is another kind of bend on this, which is maybe more common for a lot of people, is having really busy lives and then taking the opportunity to, having really busy lives and saying, wow, I'm so busy and stressed out that I can't cook. And I have to say, in my mind, I can imagine that being me. But, of course, mostly Tara mostly cooks, so I don't have too much of that. And when it's just me, I usually cook something that's fairly easy for myself. But as a family, a lot of families are really busy, and they feel like they don't have time to cook. And so in the midst of that, you might spend $60 for 4 people eating out every week. And I should pull out. Sorry, guys, I'm kind of new to doing the show. So let me pull out our Dining on a Dime cookbook here. By the way, if you don't have this book, you should check it out. We have updated our how it adds up in here. And so in this, we talk about how you can save $16,000 by just cutting certain things out of your regular spending. And actually, I was thinking about this earlier, and I thought a lot of us don't realize we spend this because it's a habit. So for a while, I had gotten into a habit of buying these $1 energy drinks that Pepsi puts out. And I realized if you do it once in a blue moon, it's $1, maybe not such a big deal. But most people get to where it's a habit every day, and at that point you don't even realize you're spending that money. And so spending that 5 days a week, it adds up. So I can't remember how much. So I'm looking in my cheat sheet here and Dining on a Dime on how it adds up. So there are some examples of things. Eating out is the one I was just talking about. And actually we calculated dinner at $40 a week and dinner at $70 a week. And it's just one time a week. If it's $40, it would be, and this is for four people. And this is a pretty cheap dinner really for most people, the $40. But for the $40, it would be $2,080 in a year that they would spend on eating out. And I think most people that do a lot of eating out probably eat out more than once a week and probably spend more than that. So we also did a calculation at $70, and that was $3,640. Now, as I read these numbers from our Dining on a Dime cookbook, I have to go over and look to share with you some things that we've received from some readers or viewers. And particularly recently, we had a longtime viewer on our Save on Grocery group. And if, by the way, share the link to the grocery group if you can. If you're not on the grocery group, it's a place where we all get together and we talk about, well, I'm not generally on it, but virtually everyone else gets together and talks about their experiences saving on food and making recipes and posting pictures, and it's really an encouraging place. It's at the top, right? Yeah.
Sorry.
No worries. It's a place where everybody gets together and talks about things that really become encouraging for everyone, their victories and their other things. And this particular viewer was showing some amazing stuff she had cooked, and incidentally, she had cooked it out of Dining on a Dime. And she was talking about how she used to order out every week. And she had done the math. I'm not sure if it was eating out at restaurants and takeout and other things. She said she did the math all together. And in the last 10 months, 45 weeks, she says she saved over $12,000. Now, she's in Australia, so those dollars would be a little different than American dollars. But actually,
still dollars.
Yeah, but nevertheless, that's a huge amount of money to be spending eating out. And I think it's funny because as I read those numbers from Dining on a Dime here, where it was saying like just under $2,000 a year for eating out, a $40 a week every week, and 3,000 something. Here, I just got to switch back to that page. I said $2,080 a year for the $40 a week meal and the $3,640 a year for the $70. That is probably a very low number for many, many people. And so if you have money that's going, or if you think, man, I should have more money, or I wish I had more money, you should add up all the little costs that you spend every day. And it would be good if you could add it up for the whole family. I don't recommend tracking every single day for the rest of your life how much you're spending on every day, but it's good to do an audit every now and then where you say, how much are we spending? And of course, everybody has to be truthful about what they're spending, but this, like I mentioned, this particular viewer, I'm not sure which things she calculated, but she ended up coming up with $12,000, and that's huge. Most people probably don't calculate everything. We also had another viewer that we actually included on our page about the grocery e-course, who had told us that she and her husband alone were spending $22,000 a year eating out. And when they discovered that, they were kind of heartbroken. And So the viewer I was talking about that posted on the grocery group, that was Kelly. She was the one that said 12,000. The reason I mentioned that is because Kelly was saying how she said I could cry. She said I've saved in 45 weeks over 12,000 Australian dollars. That's ridiculous. I could cry. But then she says, oh, LOL. So, but the thing I'm thinking is, if that's you, it's frustrating to say, oh man, I can't believe I spent that much and now it's gone. But if you can stop it now, it's beautiful going forward. And you'd be amazed how much you can save. And when I met Tara, I had gone to college, and in college, they had these tables all along this one area where we could sign up for things and be on lists and get a credit card. And the credit card table, one day I just stood there, I thought, what's this? And the person that was there said, oh, you know what? I'm sure you probably haven't had all the things you want in your life, and why wait until you're older and all that, and you're a strapped college student and you don't have the money, and you should get this credit card and be good to yourself, and you can you can enjoy it while you're paying for it and everything will be great. And being the stupid college kid that I was, I signed up for the credit card and I thought, yeah, I do deserve something awesome. And that's a huge lie. I've discovered I hate that word, deserve. If you say I deserve something or something's not fair, you probably should rethink the words that you're using, because those are really self-defeating words. Because if you think it's not fair, it generally says something's out of my control and there's nothing I can do to change it, which really is a lie. So anyway, I took this credit card and it had a $1,500 balance, and in those days that was like a $4,500 balance now. I charged it up real fast. And, pardon me?
Do I like that? Sorry.
I
wasn't sure if I'd want to do it.
That's probably okay.
Sorry.
So, wait, what was somebody saying about the 22,000?
No.
Okay. So anyway, I took this credit card and I charged it all the way up. And I thought, oh, hey, yeah. And it got to where I ended up getting another card and I charged it most of the way up too. Because the second card, I thought I'm going to use it and transfer the balance to that and get it off and pay it off. But it wasn't that way. I still like to spend, and I like to buy things I didn't need that I didn't have the money for. And so I got a second card to transfer the balance. And once I did, I quickly charged it up. And there was a day I went to a store and I got a Nintendo video game system with the last little bit of credit I had on there. And I took it home and I took it out of the box and I hooked it all up. And I was sitting there with it and I just got this overwhelming guilty feeling like I maxed my second credit card, and I was working at a grocery store making like $8 an hour, and I couldn't figure out how in the world I would ever pay off the credit cards that I had on that. So I actually put it back in the box and took it back to the store, and they said, is there anything wrong with it? And I said, no. And they said, oh, so are you bringing it back? And I said, I just realized I can't afford it. And that was a life-changing moment for me, but at the same time, I still was charging things. So I managed to get that debt a little under control. But when I met Tara, I was in the habit of going out to eat and charging things. And I would go to movies and I would charge them. And I would, in those days, we had film photography. So I would do a lot of photography, buying film and developing it. And I realized, wow, there's a lot of expense in that. But I don't know how I'm going to work it out. So hopefully someday I'll make more money. Well, when Tara and I got married, she said, yeah, that has to stop. And I realized that was the case. I just didn't really want to. But later on, when we were in our debt payoff mode, I realized, wow, I'm kind of angry at that guy who charged up all that stuff, and a lot of it was food, and now I have to pay it. But that guy was me, so I couldn't really be angry at someone else. The reason why I say all this is because nowadays, in those days, it was really hard to charge food unless you went to a sit-down restaurant. Nowadays, you can take your card and you can go anywhere and swipe it, and you don't even have to really be aware that you're spending money at all.
You just bills.
Pardon me?
It's just side bills that you're like, oh.
Yeah. So
It's just bills.
Yeah.
Whatever.
And so I would say, if you have a problem with that kind of spending, it would be good to avoid using the card. And I know you've heard this before, but I have found that since those are blind spending, it's kind of like people that are overweight, like I struggle with that some. The problem isn't that you eat 100,000 calories in one meal. Like Dave bought a watch recently, and it was a pretty expensive watch, but it was something he really wanted to buy, and he had his own money, and he didn't charge it, and he bought it, and we let him because he had his own money. And we'll probably do a video about that in the future. But it's not those big expenses. I mean, it is big expenses if you just go crazy and you spend money on everything. But if you have a big expense every now and then, it's not that causes the problem. So like a person who's overweight doesn't get overweight by eating 100,000 calories in one meal. It's by eating one extra bag of chips every day or one extra soda every day. And that builds up. Well, it's the same with spending money. In fact, I was thinking about it, and I said about the eating out, I said it was $1,750 to eat out fast food every day, only on the work days and not on the holidays. So if you go eat fast food every day on the work days and the holidays, $1,750. I would say that's a fairly conservative amount of spending if you're in the habit of going out to lunch all the time. But I was thinking, Ellie and I went to Ireland 2 years ago, and each one of us spent $1,700 for 3.5 weeks. That was the flights, all the car rentals, the ferry and the rail travel, and all the accommodations for that entire trip. So I could eat every day at a fast food restaurant, or I could go to Ireland. And to me, putting it in that kind of perspective really helps me. If you're in the habit of blindly spending, you probably spend a lot more on things like the coffee and all that. And just at the end of the month, you see a credit card bill and it's $4,000, and it doesn't really compute that that's the money I spent on those drinks at the convenience place or snacks and different things like that. So what I would suggest if you have that problem is that you only use cash for those things, and that you don't keep it very handy. Like if you put it in the glove box of your car, then if you pull into a place and you're going to go buy your quick convenience thing, you actually have to think, I have to reach over there and grab it, and then you kind of realize, wait, what am I doing? Because I know for me, I had a problem in the past with a lot of fried fast food, and I would realize if I drive past the place, I could pull in there and order something, and it doesn't even occur to me that I did it. But it's getting out of those habits. That's the big thing. So,
Practical Modern Homestead paid off all of their debt this year.
Woohoo! All right.
I feel so good.
That is awesome.
Nice job.
That is great. So maybe I'll take a minute and we can look through. Are there any other
I don't know. I haven't,
questions or comments?
I've been on debating about trolls and stuff, so I haven't seen anything. But
so I'm just going to take a quick look here in the comments while Dave is there. And I will remind you, Autumn says, I'm going to quit smoking and save that $35 a week and my health. Pray for me, please. So all you prayer warriors, please do that. And that's another thing I was going to say, Autumn, because you just reminded me of something else. A lot of that spending is spending on things that if we stopped spending would save us in other ways. So, for instance, I still eat too much. Let's say you go out and you buy fast food and you're spending too much on that. Because, like I said, fast food is $7. Tara often talks about and cooks on the show meals out of this book for our family of, is it family of 6 or 4? For our family of 6, she cooks meals out of our cookbook here for $5. So if you, as one person, go to a fast food place and think it's just fast food and you spend $7, you could have fed your whole family for that. So, but I would also say for things like the coffee and the fast food, if you cut that, say if you're overweight, and you probably are if you drink a lot of fancy coffees and eat a lot of fast food, if you can cut those things and go back to regular food, that alone will help with the weight thing, but it'll also save you a ton of money.
Zane wants to know if there are any tips on saving on gas money.
Tara says stop driving. Okay, so saving on gas money. So one thing that we have done a lot in the past is control the trips that you make. A lot of people jump in the car and go somewhere if they get an idea. I'd like to get this or I need this. They'll just jump in the car and go right now. And we combine trips, especially when we lived in Idaho. We lived 70 miles from the grocery store, so we couldn't just easily pop into the store. But if you're in a town and you drive 5 miles and you pop into the store, and you do that several times a day, that really adds up. So if you're having a gas problem, I would say, if you're having a problem with gas spending, I would say that's probably the biggest tip I can say on that. And some trips, actually Heidi, so I was talking to Heidi today, and those of you who are on the grocery group, why don't you share the link for the grocery group again? Those of you on the grocery group know Heidi. She told me that one thing she did to try to save was that she tried to not leave her house 5 days a week. Because she said, whenever I leave the house, I have the urge to spend. And that's true. You spend it on the driving, you spend it on buying things. And all that is really unnecessary for the most part. I mean, there are things you need. And, I kind of feel like I'm a little all over the place, so bear with me. But on my spending, when I used to spend a lot, because I had the credit card, I would spend it without really giving it very much thought. And actually, if you want to share that Spending Confessions link, Dave's going to share a link to a story that I wrote a number of years ago about how I sort of changed my perspective on the spending. But largely, what happened is, at a time where we couldn't spend, and then I was married, so I had accountability now not to spend because it was our money, I thought more about the spending, and I was a little upset because I couldn't just go buy anything I wanted anytime like I was trying to do before. And we had Christmas money. Tara's family would give Christmas money if or birthday money or whatever, if you wanted to get a gift, or if you were saving for something, instead of buying a trinket or a knick-knack, they would say, well, you're saving for a camera or you're saving for whatever. So we'll just give you a little bit of money towards that.
Catherine Marie wants to know, any thoughts on a no-buy year?
Catherine,
can you clarify what a no-buy year is?
I know what it is.
Oh, okay.
It's where you just don't spend any money for a month or a year except on the basic necessities.
I think that's a good idea, but I'll address it in just a second. What I realized is we had this Christmas money thing, and so they would give me Christmas money to save up for something, and I thought, I'm going to save, I'm being responsible with my money now, and we're paying off debt. Okay, Jack?
Jonathan?
What? Why don't you go sit with Mom and observe from the peanut gallery?
But I want to be here.
Well, no, go sit with Mom.
Keep on jumping. Well, yeah.
We'll have to have you on a show here soon, so you can be cute for everybody. So anyway, with the Christmas money, I was really happy that we were paying off debt, and I was saving the Christmas money, and I ended up buying, I forgot what it was that I bought. I bought something that I really wanted. And one day later, that thing was sitting over there, and I thought, wow, what could I... this thing looks really cool. Something else I saw. And I thought, that's too bad I spent the money on that, because 24 hours later, I realized, it's not as exciting as I thought it would be. And then I saved up for another thing, and I had the exact same experience again. So after that, I started thinking, when I would get the money, I thought, do I really want this? And I realized, and I think this is the case for virtually everyone that's watching that spends money, that we think we need things that we don't need. We think we want things that don't really do anything for us. And just having those things isn't joy producing. And I think it's interesting because there's Ellie kind of got into the minimalist thing, and Dave is talking about it too.
I'm slowly transitioning, like slowly being like, do I need this?
Yeah.
Have I used it in the last month? No? Okay, it's gone away.
And it's great when you do that, right?
Yeah.
because you realize I don't have to be responsible for taking care of those things anymore. I have more space. Everything is clutter free. And I think that's a great idea. But what it really gets back to is what I was saying. You realize, wow, I don't really need this stuff. So the no buy year, I think that would be an interesting thing to try, just to buy what you minimally need. And I think it would be an interesting thing to try based on the experience that I already mentioned that I had, is realizing there's not much that we actually need. And when we were paying off that debt, we were living in Idaho in a really remote place. And it kind of helped me break the fast food habit because there was no place to get fast food. And it helped me break a lot of spending habits because we had to drive 70 miles to the store. And I found more joy in building things and in creating stuff and in watching that debt go down. And that was really helpful. By the way, on the debt payoff, I'm a visual person. And in those days, we had a computer, but it wasn't that fantastic. It was the computer that we ended up writing the first edition of the book on.
Commodore 64.
No, it was an IBM PC of some sort, but it was really ancient. And it wasn't really the kind of computer you'd want to get on the internet very often on. And so, where am I going with that? My brain just jumped the track.
Your visual, you made a
Oh,
chart.
yeah. So I didn't do anything with a spreadsheet or anything like that. Because I'm visual, I just got some paper and I calculated if we pay off this much each month, this is the way it's going to go. And I graphed a line. And then every month I would follow that and I would look at it and say, wow, if I just pay off a little extra, then the line is below the projected line. And that'll be great. And we started figuring out every month we were less and less than the projection. And that made me feel really awesome. But it also made me realize, wow, I was spending a lot of money on things that we didn't need or that weren't bringing me any joy. But it was bringing me joy to think, wow, we don't have to pay $300 a month on our minimum payment anymore. Which I think, is that how much we paid? Interest was higher at that time, but nevertheless, I think that's probably very conservative compared to what a lot of people pay now. But seeing that payment go away, especially when our income was only $22,000, something in that range, that was really huge for us. So I kind of circled all the way around, but the main point on the reason you don't have any money and are in debt is people...
Don't spend more than you earn.
Yeah, well, don't spend more than you earn. And I'm just thinking it's mainly nickel and dime spending. Like, obviously, if you go buy a boat and then you spend $40,000 on a trip that Ellie and I spent $1,700 on, and if you're constantly buying things that are $10,000, $20,000 or $50,000 or $100,000, obviously
going to leave a dent.
It's going to leave a dent, and people are going to notice. But what really gets you isn't that, because if you spend that kind of money, your spouse or somebody else in your life is going to riot, or you're going to find yourself quickly in a catastrophe and you're going to have to solve it. But when you nickel and dime yourself into debt, it kind of comes on slowly and you don't realize it. Kind of like boiling the frog in that actually, if you're not from the United States, you might not know this, but there's a story that if you put a frog in boiling water, it'll jump out. But if you put it in the water when it's cold and just slowly heat it up, it'll boil to death because it doesn't really realize. And so it's kind of like that when you nickel and dime your stuff, especially you pay $1 for something every single day. Well, then you say, I'm going to buy this other thing for $5 every single day. And it's only $5, but it actually adds up. And actually, as I'm kind of going all over the place, it's like that when you make payments on things. Because never in my life would I have imagined that people would spend $80,000 on a vehicle or $60,000. And I know people who, particularly with pickups, they get a new pickup, and one guy spent $100,000 on a new pickup. A lot of the guys that I know spent $80,000. And I was thinking, that's a house. Okay, in Colorado, that's not a house, but I should live in it if it's going to cost that much. And what really gets people on that is they don't think about the total amount that they're paying when it's payments. It's like it's easier to think of, well, this isn't going to be an $80,000 payment, but it's easier to think of $300 a month than to think of $20,000. And if you think of $20,000, that's a whole lot different. I mean, what if you had that money in your hand in cash? Because you can have it in cash if you don't buy that thing. So, anyway, let me see what kind of questions we have, because I'm...
Oh, I don't see many questions. I just saw some about posting.
Oh, yes. Thank you, Annie. That's a beautiful point. And this is a point that Tara's made before. Annie says, you have to think about how many hours do you work for something. And Tara used to do that with me, where she would think, because of the time she was staying home and I was going out to my job, we didn't have living on a dime. So I was the one that was pretty much bringing in all the money. And she would think, wow, at that time I was making, how much was I making? I was making $6 an hour. So if we went to buy something and it was like a delivery pizza, like $20, she would think, man, that's more than 3 hours of Mike having to work for that. And even if you make more money, you can still think of it that way, because you think, okay, let's say you make $30 an hour. You think, it's only $1 for that soda. Okay. But if you buy the soda and you buy the coffee and you buy the fast food out, so you're spending conservatively $10 to $15 a day. Well, then that becomes a half an hour worth of working at a job you might not like. Well, yeah. Actually, Tara also mentioned, while she's not working, by the way, she mentioned that we were also comparing that to cars. So somebody has a $60,000 car. She said a $25,000 car, but I'm thinking, what if you have a $60,000? And what we've noticed is 2 people will each have a car that's $45,000. So let's say $90,000 altogether. So for $90,000 car,
you could pay all your house expenses.
A lot of the people that we know that have these cars, they make $30,000 or $40,000 each. And so let's say there's a $60,000 family income. The husband and wife together, they make $60,000. And between them, they have $90,000 in cars. Is it worth that car if you could take a year and a half off of work at the job you hate going to? Not only that, but in that case, let's say you were able to take that time off, you wouldn't have to do the driving, you wouldn't have to have the clothes, you'd save a whole lot. So there's a lot of expense in things that people don't think about when they break it down in payments. And it's funny because my dad was doing insurance and real estate when I was a kid, and he talked about how a lot of places realize it was easier to get people to spend money they don't have when you break it into payments and say, how much can I afford? Instead of saying, do I really need this? So like for us, it's funny, Dave and I, so we buy cars that are like $3,000 for me and maybe $5,000 for Tara, because hers is usually the family vehicle. And it turns out at the moment that my car is the nicer car because we got some others for Tara that didn't work out. And so we have a car from Ellie that was hailed on, so the insurance totaled it. It's not a bad car, but it does have a few problems, like the fender's cracked, and it has a crack in the windshield, which I'll probably have to fix here shortly. But nevertheless, we have no money in that car anymore, and it's a little Saturn, and it's a little bit noisy, but it works fine. The heater works fine. We can hear the radio, even though it's not the best radio, and it's funny because Tara was having trouble shifting because she had an elbow problem, and she didn't want to drive the Saturn because it's a standard. And when I discovered that, I said, well, why don't you take my car for a while and see if your arm gets better, and eventually we're going to get her something else. But Dave and I were driving the Saturn with the cracked window and the Band-Aid on the fender, because when it was Ellie's car, she just put Band-Aid on it. It's a plastic fender. But there's really nothing else apparently wrong with that car. Dave and I were driving one day, and I was thinking, wow, we have no money in this car, and we're driving it around, and I don't really mind. It's not the nicest car, but I don't mind. And Dave was saying, on a cold day, it's warm, it gets us where we want to go. I think we don't live in this car, so it's perfect. And there's so much less stress
At least you're not spending $80,000 on a car.
That's exactly.
Yeah.
There's so much less stress than to think I have to keep paying on this for.
Well,
I mean, some cars now, 7 or 8 years you pay on them, and that's every single month. And this car, we put gas in it, we change the oil, and do regular maintenance. But that's virtually free, really, compared to having a car where you make payments on it. What were you gonna say?
It smells good. Didn't with the insurance, didn't we get more money than what we paid for the Saturn? Like back on the insurance or something?
Yeah,
so we basically have a free car now. It's just
right.
Still working.
So if you missed that story
insurance
that Tara told previously, a lady backed into the car and cracked the fender, and they paid something like 80% of the car's value was the damage to the fender. So they paid that. Well, then when the car got hailed on, then they totaled it for hail. So it ended up being more than the actual book value of the car. So in that case, it's kind of worth driving that for now, just because we have no financial stress from driving that car. And it's fine. It's a fine car. In fact, the irony is we drive it and we think, it's a little beat up. It's not the prettiest car, but it gets the job done. But I was thinking, in most places in the world, people would just fall all over themselves at how amazing it is that they have a car. And I just think,
like, wow, we actually have something.
Yeah.
Where we don't have to walk 5 miles to get to our destination.
I don't have to walk 5 miles to get water from the stream for my family.
Yeah.
I always try to put it in those kind of perspectives too. But
think about an African family that's struggling. I don't know.
Just to have a house.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yes. Tammy says, my dad used to say paint doesn't make a car run. That's true. Actually, it's funny because we had a car one time that was given to us, and I'm sure the people that gave it to us had the best intentions when they did. But nevertheless, it had a lot of mechanical problems, and they were family. Had a lot of mechanical problems, and they fixed the paint before they gave it to us. And I appreciate the fact that we got a car that we didn't pay for. It was after I drove our other car off a cliff. And story for another time. But
Story time with Mike.
it was nice that they were trying to do something positive. It's just, like you said, paint doesn't make the car work better. So, and it's funny, the Saturn, it's fine, but oh, hey, yeah. Shula says, yes, and the insurance is high on these cars. So if you get a more expensive car, the insurance is higher, the plates are higher. And I would say in the time that Tara and I have known each other, we've bought, I don't know, 15 vehicles probably.
Huh?
How many cars do you think we've had altogether?
10 or 15.
Probably, I'd say 15. Most of the time we bought them and then drove them for 5 years and then sold them for close to the same price we paid.
Ooh.
Since we've been in Colorado, we've unfortunately been hit by a lot of people because there are a lot of drivers that just don't pay attention. Mm-hmm. And in those cases, the insurance ended up paying more than we paid most of the time. And because we usually look for a good deal, and we buy it used, and we always pay cash. And if you're thinking, well, how can you pay cash when I could just make payments at $200 a month? We pay cash because we only spend $3,000 to $5,000, and we don't buy all those other little things. Like I mentioned, we don't buy the coffee every day. We don't buy the fast food every day. And even just doing those things, people that do that could afford to pay cash for a car like that in no time at all. And it's making that connection in your mind. What is this little thing doing? Because I realize it's the same thing with, like I said, eating. I think, wow, I really need to cut back my calories. But I think, wow, I eat this thing every day, and it's just because it's there, and it's 200 calories. Wow, what if I didn't do that every day?
Wow.
What if I just got out of the habit altogether and just said, I don't really need that today? So anyway, let me see what other comments are here. I kind of have been straying some here. So did you see any questions, Dave?
Nope.
Uh,
I did see. Hang on. let me
So-
see. Ellen Broomfield says we will be caught up with our current mortgage payment in January.
that
So
is,
yeah.
yay, that is
Congratulations.
awesome. That is great. And
Congrats.
actually, as far as if you're in debt and you're paying off things, or if you're catching up on things, let me encourage you and say, when we were paying off the debt, I was really feeling frustrated for a lot of years for a number of years before I met Tara, because I was thinking, well, I'm trying to manage this debt somehow, and it just wasn't really working out. And then when we were first married, I had some of that debt still, and that became our debt. And it was frustrating to think, wow, okay, this is my moment of truth where I now have to be responsible because I married her. That, I can no longer say, oh, well, I'm going to manage my debt, because it was our money now. And so at that point, I was being a lot more careful, but it wasn't really any fun. And the encouraging part I'm getting to, about a year or so into it, we were trying to figure out how to transfer to other cards to get a lower interest rate, and also have the willpower not to spend, which was helpful when I had Tara telling me, because as you guys who are familiar with us know, she and Jill and David grew up under some pretty rough circumstances.
Not
so
this one.
it was easier for her to cut back than me. But having her there, and if you know her personality, you understand that I had some motivation.
Get it together, people.
And I felt frustrated for a little while. But once we started to pay off some things, I realized you pay off a little and it seems like not much is happening. And you pay off a little more and it seems like not much is happening. You think, why am I doing this? Because it seems kind of hard to have to pay this off. And I don't really feel much better. But it didn't take very long. And suddenly, especially once we got the first one completely paid off, it just suddenly started to rush like a runaway train. And it got more and more and more till it was totally gone. And we've had some ups and downs with my work and with business and things over the years. And I haven't been very aggressive about paying off the house. So we still have a mortgage on the house. But this last year, in the last couple of years really, I got to paying a little extra. But this year, I realized, wow, things are doing a little better. Why am I holding all this money in savings? Started paying off a lot of it. And it feels really good when you do that. And the more you get gone, the easier it is. So if you're having trouble, just try to keep that focus in the front, and imagine what it'll be like when you have nothing, no debt. Like, we've been paying extra on our house for a long time. And I keep thinking, wow, someday it's going to be paid off and we won't have that. But I think, well, our payment is like $1,100 a month, which is about a third, well, it's about half of what everyone else that lives around us pays, because we've been paying down the house instead of buying other things. But I keep thinking, when it's all done, we're going to have that $1,100 a month. And I think, wow, that doesn't seem like very much. But then I realized we've been paying a lot extra on it every month, trying
That's
to kill
one
that.
TV every month.
I know.
One of those TVs.
But the reality is, most months I try to pay double. And we've just kind of been pulling our belt tighter to be able to do that, or more. So like, if business is doing better, or we get some kind of an unexpected refund on something from years ago, we pay it straight on there. And I realized recently, since we are paying double or more, it's actually going to be a lot more than that $1,100 that we will have free to do anything we want with every single month after we pay off the house. And before it was the house payment, it was the credit cards. I was thinking the same thing, because credit cards, I was really frustrated because we were paying off all this money on mostly restaurant food that I had eaten 3 years ago. And that, for those of you who are new here, that was a really long time ago. But it's just kind of part of the swirl of explanation of why we do what we do now. We really want to help people with these things. By the way, you might share the book. Dining on a Dime. Oh, hey, we need to do the drawing too. Dining on a Dime. Oh, not the drawing. Right, I'll have to tell.
You guys.
Dining on a Dime cookbook. It is. It will save you probably on the first time you go to the store. You can ask everybody in the comments. I frequently see people telling their stories. And I am just amazed, and we feel blessed when people tell us how much it's helped them. But I also was going to tell you, after this show is over, if you go to YouTube, we're going to have a drawing and give away 10 of them because we hit 100,000 subscribers on YouTube.
One lucky person is going to get an apron from Jill, Mom's mom.
One person will get an apron and a book, and 9 other people will get a book.
One person will get an apron and a book, and 9 other people will just get a book. So we'll have 10 of the new revised and expanded 20th anniversary edition Dining on a Dime that we're giving away. And what you have to do to enter that is when this show is over, go to YouTube if you're on Facebook, or if you're already on YouTube, you can stay there. But you have to go to YouTube, to Living on a Dime on YouTube. Don't stay on the live part. And a few minutes after the show, YouTube will publish that, and then make a comment then, and that we will look at everyone who makes comments on today's show on the YouTube side, and those we will do the drawing from them for 10. So that's really good odds, to be honest. And anyone who does it between now and Wednesday's show at 4:30 Mountain, we will do it live on the show. So if you've made your comment by then you'll be in the drawing for this book. So yay. And
don't forget to subscribe too.
If you want it sooner than that and you buy the book and then you end up winning it, you can let us know and we will refund you what you paid for it. So if you want to buy it thinking maybe I'll win, maybe I won't, then yeah. What was the other thing?
Don't forget to subscribe too.
Yes, and subscribe.
I don't think, we're going to check and make sure.
Yes.
Don't do our research.
Oh, and one other thing, as we're talking about stuff, we do have the New Year's sale going on. And on the New Year's sale, we have a special on our 2 things that I think would be really popular this time of year. One is our How to Save on Groceries e-course, which if you really don't quite know how to manage the money on that, or if you just would like to improve, it's a really good course for that. It's 7 ebooks and then some videos, I think 10 videos that Tara and Jill did, and it's kind of a step-by-step how to do this. And we also have a how to get organized ebooks. So it's how to get organized, it's about cleaning and laundry and basically everything you need to organize the house. So those are on our New Year's sale. If you go, I think Dave's probably sharing the links. Are you sharing links for that? And if you missed that, you can go to livingonadime.com and there's a notice about it there in our store. So anyway, I have a lot more I could say on this topic, but since it's getting to be later, let me see what kind of questions we have.
And David is not eating after 6.
Oh, hey, come show your invention. So I'm going to stop on I'm going to look for questions and see, but I'll probably stop. If you have specific questions you'd like me to answer in another show, because Tara's going to be off the show for the rest of this month and a little bit into February, and Dave and I are going to be doing it, and we'll involve Jack. We'll be doing some cooking. Probably one day we'll probably talk about fear and how fear rules your life and how you don't want it to, and a lot of other cool things. So Jack's going to show his invention while I look through comments.
It's not an invention, Dad.
Yeah,
it's not?
Invention.
Oh, it is?
Well, I mean, I don't know.
Okay.
I would think so.
Okay.
Wow. Dad, how do we do this?
How
So what do you...
do this? I have 3 parts I need to hold at once.
Oh.
And I'm not sure I can hold them in the air.
Hang on, let me pan.
Dave, why don't you... Do you think you can help Jack hold it while I look at comments real quick? So I'm looking to see if we have comments here, everyone.
Dad, is that good?
I can't see it.
You may have to.
Let me switch over here real quick. So Jack wants to show you this, and then... I'll have to zoom it in a little bit here. All right, everybody, we'll zoom in here and see what we got. Tilt down just a little, Dave. Oh, my phone. Okay.
So, I've made this little thing. I don't know what to call it. It's just a thing.
Well, what are all these parts that you're making it from?
This is a microbit. It's actually it's basically a
Small computer.
Yeah, it's basically a computer that you can program to do things, and currently what I've made is a small lock. So what happens is when you turn it on, you can see that the green light flashes 3 times, and I'm not sure if you can see the lights, but
Mm-hmm.
But and then if you push both buttons at once, then it will determine if you got the right code. So currently I didn't. So if you push the A button 3 times, and then the B button twice, then it...
That is...
And in the future, I'm going to make it so that you can connect it to a, like...
Go ahead and tilt back up, Dave.
Why did you do that?
Okay. So Dave...
Connect it to a thing.
Nice.
Does that look fine?
Jack has been doing lots of cool things with that. That's a little computer... it's called a microbit, but it's basically a little computer... There you go. It's a little computer board that kids can program, so that's really cool. Okay, so I'm seeing some questions here I'm going to get to real quick. First of all, Denise says, can't touch a house here in California for $1,100 a month. You can't touch a house here in Colorado for $1,100 a month either. And the reason why ours is only that much is that we put a bunch of money down on it when we bought it. So our mortgage was $140,000 at the time. And the house was worth less at that time. Now it's worth about $400, and just because the market in Colorado has gone up a lot. So $1,100 a month is really low, but it's because we were saving and paying off extra on our house in Kansas some before I really got serious about paying it off here. So that's the reason why it's $1,100 a month. And here in Colorado, a typical small rental house,
Like small.
I think maybe a 2-bedroom rental house would be at least $1,500 a month here.
I thought that was a 1-bedroom.
Tara says 25. Is it just an apartment that'd be $1,500? Yeah. 1-bedroom apartment, $1,500. So yeah, so that's a good deal. But the reason why is because we don't spend on things that we don't. I spend a little bit on things I don't need as much, more than Tara. But we, for the most part, don't spend very much on things that we don't need, and we really focus on paying down the debt, the house debt. The loan debt, the mortgage debt, the debt from credit cards and things, that's been gone for 15 years. So, and it's nice to be able to say that. So if you're working on it, take courage in that. Donna says, I've heard that if you make one extra mortgage payment per year, it will cut 7 years off your 30-year mortgage. I'm not sure about those particular numbers, but it's true. If you make an extra payment, it will take off something. What I realize is... when we were in Kansas, there was a time where I took, I think the 7 years is not quite the accurate number, but there was a number of years ago where I was doing calculations based on our mortgage at that time, and I figured if I made an extra payment, it paid off 3 payments off the end. So, and I have somebody else telling me our mortgage is $2,000 a month on a $300,000 house. So
That is crazy.
So if you can put money into it, and not have it on there, and instead of buying other things, that would be awesome. And that's our preference, is always to put the money towards the house over other stuff if we can. Now we still let ourselves do some things, like we don't spend all of our birthday money on the house and stuff like that. But so everyone that is interested, I see some people saying I'd like to win that book. After the show is over, which is going to be just a few minutes, and we're going to stop. You go to YouTube after the show is over, and YouTube reposts it. Put in the comments something about how you want the book or how much you like the video or whatever, and we will be doing a drawing on Wednesday for those 10 free copies of our Dining on a Dime 20th anniversary edition, and one handmade apron that
Jill made.
Mama Jill made. And it's all a celebration of hitting 100,000 subscribers on YouTube. Thank you so much for getting us there, guys. Ramona, what's up with Tara? So Tara hasn't been feeling very good for actually a couple of years. And one time we sent her away for like a month. And
way too energetic. Sorry, guys. If I'm like...
Sadly, she still took some work with her. And then we tried some things in the summer that didn't really work so well. So what we're doing is she's taking 6 weeks off to just kind of stand down and decompress and kind of organize things she wants to organize and read books and do things like... So it's basically a sabbatical. So that'll get her into early February. So up till then, Dave and I are mostly doing the show. We might involve Jill or somebody. We'll see how that goes. But it's mostly going to be Dave and I, and Jack may be doing some cooking. So I have some plans of a variety of things. And if there's anything in particular you guys would request that might be different from me, then Tara, let me know. Oh, Jack, wow, all these people are saying Nito, Jack.
Yeah, Dave.
Oh, Darlene says maybe show us how to fix something. Actually, it's funny. The other day, I was putting up a light, and I thought I actually put 3 of them up. I thought I should have done that live, because it's really not that hard. You do have to be careful not to shock yourself, but if you're careful, then it's not hard.
And they look really good, too. They're like amazing. Ooh.
Jack Peggy says, keep working on your projects. He does some amazing. So he's been programming a game. So MIT University has a thing online called Scratch where kids can experiment with programming. And he just really rocks it on programming. Right, Jack? So
Yeah.
Let's just say that.
he's made a bunch of different kinds of... Go ahead.
Like, I'm not way up there, but I'm not way down there either.
Well, so your tech teacher at school told you were at a certain skill level. What skill level did your tech teacher say?
Apparently, I'm at middle school level with my programming.
You're better than middle schoolers.
I think you're better than middle schoolers.
Because when we were there in middle school, we were only building games where, like, you press a button and it just magically changed colors or something.
Yeah.
And he's making, like, full-fledged tile map games where you, like, can farm stuff and do all this. It's crazy
Yeah.
what he's doing.
Yeah.
He's the techie.
And the funny thing is, again, that's one of those things where those toys are a little bit more expensive than some other things, but he would prefer that over a lot of lesser expensive toys that aren't very exciting or interesting. So we just kind of shift into fewer things that he likes more. So, and one thing, we try to really encourage the kids on the things that they're interested in. Dave's all about photography, so we kind of...
So I have this shirt.
We steered a lot of his Christmas in that direction. And the thing is, we try to encourage them on the things they're good at. Because there's a time for me when I was thinking, what am I about? What do I do? Who am I?
I'll get
And,
over it.
and I realized, if you pay attention to what you like when you're a kid and you feed it, you'll figure it out. So we try to help them. Happy New Year, Turid! Happy birthday to you from Norway. We're in 2019. Yay! Wow, Norway's already, I forgot. Wow, a whole bunch of our friends are in tomorrow
I think
already.
all of Europe, all of Asia,
All of Europe and
all of
Asia.
Australia, and
So we're
most of Africa.
We're the stragglers here in North America and South America. Darlene, tomorrow's my birthday. Oh, hey. I hope we don't miss too many, but Darlene and Deborah, happy birthday. And
Happy birthday.
let me see what else we have here real quick. We're going to go in
Well-
just a minute, but
Yeah, look. Iceland and all those places, it seems...
wow, it's already
Wow.
time. Deborah, I'm close to paying off my house, making extra each month. Do it, Deborah. One thing on the paying off, too. I'm doing this more with the house, but even with the credit cards, we didn't as much, but I'm finding it's kind of fun to say, I think I want to pay off $100. I'm going to do $120. I mean, that's a small number for what we're doing on the mortgage, but nevertheless, if I think, can I just pay a little more? Because I think someday that's going to be gone, and we're going to be so pleased about that. So let's see.
2019.
Tar says 2019.
Our house is going to be paid off.
So
Hopefully.
we're going to have to kick it into a little bit of higher gear. Actually, we have very little left on our house, but we have enough that we have to pull some strings to get it done this year. Something else on the extra house payments, because I see a lot of people saying numbers, but I'm not quite sure about the numbers that I'm seeing. But our payment is $1,100, and out of that payment, I want to say $250 goes to paying off the principal. Well, if you're not familiar with that term, the principal is how much you actually owe on the house. And for us, it's like $55,000 right now. Yay. So if you make the minimum payment, $250 goes to paying that off. And that's a lot of payments before it gets paid off. So if you just pay that extra, the amount that's principal, if you just pay that amount extra every month, that's going to take one payment off later on because you're paying down the amount you actually owe. So that's helpful to know. And if you make the minimum mortgage payment, the majority of it is not going to paying off your house. And that's why when we first bought our first house, it was how much was the house? $27,000. And the mortgage thing said, oh yeah, hey, when you're done paying it off, if you make the payments on the schedule, it's going to cost you $78,000 for this house. And I thought, what? On a $27,000 house? And then the next house we bought was a $100,000 house. And that one, it said, if you pay the payments as scheduled, it'll be $360,000 when you're done. Well, that's ridiculous. So if you have a mortgage payment, I would strongly recommend first getting out of your other debt and then getting that off. So yes, house projects would be great. Man, I'm so good at that. I should have done more of them otherwise. The thing about house projects is I probably wouldn't do them at the normal live show time. So, but anyway, yeah. Okay, Dave, do you see anything on YouTube? I'm looking through Facebook real quick here for last minute questions.
No.
Deborah, right there with you, Mike. That's what I do every month. And that's another thing that's important is being in the habit of paying extra. Because if you only do it once in a while, you won't see the change. And Lynn makes it an important point. If you pay extra on the mortgage, you have to designate its additional principal. If you don't say, they'll put it towards extra payments, and that won't help you. It'll make you feel like you don't have payment next month, but then you'll owe just as much. So, Turid says, hi to Buster from Casper and Tinka. You'll have to send a picture of them to us, Turid. Dave, I love your shirt and cup, says Amy. Photography is an amazing hobby and can be a very lucrative career. He is really spectacular at it, so.
Yeah, I don't know what I want to do with that still.
Oh, you don't?
Yeah, no, I have no idea yet.
He also, because...
I just take pictures on my hobbies. Yay.
I think also this interest might have started because I used to be a television guy, but he also is really good at motion graphics software that does a lot of special effects things.
But yeah.
He's really good at that too. So I'm sure someday some of that somehow will become something useful.
There's a lot of sums in one one sentence.
Yeah, but you have a clearer view. Buster needs a Facebook page, and he says, yeah, I'm afraid to be like the ramp. Okay, looking through YouTube real quick here. Yes, Happy New Year, everybody. How do you stick to the budget if the both of you don't do money the same way? That is a challenge, and Tara says we'll probably have to do a separate show on that. You kind of have to get on the same page with money. I'm just going to say on a short standard. And also we'll talk about that in another show, but I will say it can be hard, especially when we first got married. We didn't think exactly the same way about money, but I think I realized that Tara was right, even though I didn't want to have to vent to that.
That is being taped live. Say that again, please.
That's the only time you're ever going to hear it. I've said that before. What are you talking about? Tara, who's not supposed to be working.
I'm not working. I'm just making sure I hear.
She's being the studio audience. So,
do I need a clap sign?
I do. One thing I would say is we'll get to this more on the other show, but we strongly think that if you're married, you should be able to trust each other enough to actually share the money. We know a lot of people, and if you can't, because you're in a situation and it's already that way and both people aren't in agreement, then you have to work that out. And we'll talk about that in that show. But we found that when people think my money and her money, then it's really it's damaging to the relationship. And I forgot to mention the statistic earlier, but I hear Dave Ramsey talk about it and some other people, but I don't know if I think financial problems are either the number one or the number two cause of divorce. And I thought it was number one, but I saw a post on Dave's site that said number two. After infidelity, it said. So I don't know. But it's extremely high. So it's important to have your financial ducks in a row. So Tina, remind us if we don't get to it about doing a show like that.
Well, Mark and I already did one.
Oh, you did one already? Okay. So... Okay. Yes? Oh, okay. So Dave is telling me it's time to go. I was looking for more comments, but I think if we missed anything, ask it again on the next show, and I'll try to get to it then. By the way, one more time, we have our New Year's sale going on right now.
I'll post the link.
Knowing that everybody is rearranging and rethinking everything, we decided to offer a special thing on our How to Save on Groceries e-course, which will probably save most people the amount of its cost the first time they use it, and on our How to Get Organized and How to Organize Your Home ebook set. So those are awesome. Be sure and check them out while they're on sale. Dave's shared the link. If you miss it, you can go to livingonadime.com and go to our store, and there's a link there. Also, this is not on sale, but we have our Dining on a Dime cookbook, which if you're nickel and dimed on your spending on eating things, this book will pay for itself almost right away. And it makes it so easy to do stuff so that you'll find that what you thought was convenience food is by eating out is not at all convenience. It's so much easier and less time consuming and less stressful. So anyway, just thought I'd mention that at the end. We'll be back Wednesday. I have no idea what we're going to be talking about, but since that's next year, I'm sure I have plenty of time to think about it. I hope you guys have an awesome... Oh, and for those of you in the future, maybe send me a message and let me know what it's like in the future. And
let us know if 2019 is worth it or not.
Yeah, let us know if it's worth going to 2019. And thanks everybody for being here. We sure appreciate you.
Happy New Year!
Tara says Happy New Year. And I'll have to take a picture of her for the giveaway so that I can show her so you can at least see what she
Dinner's
looks like.
ready. Get off.
So anyway,
Ooh.
all right.
Ooh.
Well, I love you all. Have a great night. And be sure and visit us at livingonadime.com. And as soon as we get off, give it about 5 minutes. Then go to
5 or 10 around there.
5 or 10 minutes. Then go to Living on a Dime on YouTube and comment on this video, and you'll be entered in the drawing for the Dining on a Dime cookbook, 20th anniversary edition, one of the 10 that we're giving away, and the handmade apron that Jill made. So anyway, we'll see you later. Thanks very much. Oh yeah. I'll get it. So Dave wants to make sure I know how to shut this off. So anyway, we'll see you later. Happy New Year. I wish I could say it in 6 other languages, but
yeah. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Blah 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 blah.